Today we're going to watch a video called Music Theory in 16 Minutes. Now this video is by Guy Michelmore and it's got 2.2 million views, so it should be pretty good. We might just learn something. Let me put on my cans and I got my axe right here so I can play along. Let's check it out.
Hello friends, today's the day that I'm going to explain all the essential elements of music theory in less than 30 minutes. There's a challenge for you. Okay?
Not easy to do.
Now, there's two halves to music theory. There's how music is written down and there's how it's organized. For most people, to start with, how music is organized is far more important. So we're going to put how...
He's talking about, don't worry about how to sight read yet, guitar players. I'm looking at you. Yeah, sight reading's tough. All right, so stick with how music is organized.
It's written down to one side and concentrate on the organization.
This guy's from across the pond.
This is a note. Now, as most of you probably know, sound is caused by vibration. The faster vibration, the higher the note.
A C.
The slower the vibration, the lower the note. So if you, for example, double the frequency of that note, you get that one. If you halve the frequency of that note, you get that one. Now, if you look at the piano keyboard, you will notice that there's a certain symmetry. So
everybody tracking so far? Hasn't gotten too difficult yet.
And pattern to the whole thing, that there's these repeating patterns of 2 black notes, 3 black notes, 2 black notes, 3 black notes. And those are divided.
Yeah, the piano is a much more visual instrument than the guitar. You look at the guitar and you're like, WTF is going on, bro?
The same point in the pattern is called an octave. Okay?
Yes.
And that's because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's 8 white notes. If you then
major
take that
scale,
octave, we then divide it into 12 equal steps to get all the black and the white notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay?
yes.
Now,
That's where all the fun is, by the way, in the black
any
notes.
one note and
Dissonance.
the next note up or down is called, in the United States, a half step.
Yes.
That's a half step. And in the United Kingdom, it's called a semitone. That's a semitone. 2 half steps make a whole step, as you can probably work out. So
yeah, half step.
1, 2.
That's the way we do it over here in the US. But who cares, as long as we're talking about the same thing.
Or in the United Kingdom, that's a tone.
Semitone, tone.
That's a tone. Okay, so half step, whole step, semitone,
intervals.
Hang on, I can't go on talking about that note and this note. We need to start giving notes some names. And thanks to a 6th century Roman philosopher called Boethius, we can do that. He thought, what a wonderful idea. Allegedly, he was the first to come up with this, but he thought, what a great idea to give these notes names, which are letters. So that one is called A. Take a wild guess at what...
Of course, A stands for ass.
B, exactly. C, D, E, F, G. Now, when we get back to the octave...
Starting with the minor scale, because it aligns with the alphabet.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. all the way up. So all these are A's, all these are B's, all these are C's. Okay? What was that? Yes, the black notes. What are we going to call those? Okay, start on this one, go a half step up. What's that called? It's called G sharp. If you go up half step, that's G.
As I said, this is where the fun is. The notes in between the notes.
You go half step down.
Yeah, this thing right here is kind of a hard thing for people to get. If you're descending the scale, you tend to call things flats, or at least that's one way to look at it. But if you're ascending in pitch, you're raising the notes, so you call them sharp. So G flat if we're going down, but that could be the same as taking an F, raising it to F sharp. Same thing, enharmonic equivalence is what we call this.
Up, you get the sharp note.
I need some WAP juice.
That one's called D. Go up half step, we get, correct, D sharp. Go down half step, we get
D flat.
D flat. Well spotted. What happens if we play A and go down half a step? A flat. Okay, fine. What happens if you play G and go up half a step? you get the same note, but it's called G sharp. So that note can be either G sharp or A flat. It's not actually that complicated to get your head around. It's like if you
I don't know. Is this confusing you guys? The enharmonic equivalents?
Go down East Street and turn right. Or you might say, no, go
I remember it being confusing when I first learned it.
You're just getting there by different routes. And it's very similar. So half a step up.
I think once you learn key signatures, then things start to clear up a lot more.
Turn out to be exactly the same.
Maybe I'll put a video here on the Circle of Death.
We know how
it's divided
up, and we know how to name notes.
She's got some guitars in the background.
What is a scale, and why does it matter? That probably sounds hauntingly familiar to you. What are you listening
hauntingly
to,
familiar
when you're hearing that scale? What makes that sound like a major scale?
C major scale?
It's the pattern of intervals.
Yeah.
That's all a scale is. So
that's what it is.
Play, starting anywhere
pattern
on
of
the
intervals.
Keyboard, intervals you start on the
Is that
bottom.
a didgeridoo? Whoa, this guy's got all kinds of cool instruments.
So if you play starting
mandolin,
anywhere on the keyboard,
ukulele.
Intervals you start on the bottom and you go whole step, half step, whole step, half step.
Yeah.
It will sound like a major scale.
It's interesting. I don't think about that formula when I'm playing scales. I guess I think more in terms of like fretboard shapes. But how do you guys think? Do you use that whole step, half step thing, or do you think about it another way? As long as like you get a good result, that's the thing that matters.
Same in UK English. If you go tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, it is that's what a major scale is. It's a pattern of intervals.
Yes.
Start on C.
Indeed.
Go up a whole step, another whole step, then a half step, then 3 more whole steps, 1, 2, 3, and a half step. Whole step, half step.
By the way, I think it's really good to play your scales with pedal tones. It's a bit harder to do it in C, but that way you really enforce the root. It's more of like an ear training thing.
Whole step, half step. UK English. Okay, go up a tone, semitone.
My brain is fried.
Tone, semitone. Start anywhere, and it will sound in a different place, but
probably
it will
all the
still
WAP
be
juice.
recognizably a major scale. Start, for example, on G. Whole step, half step, whole step. Don't panic. We can't go to that F because we need to go up a whole step.
It's not going to work.
F sharp, and then finish off with a half step.
Question is, what does F stand for?
UK English. Tone, semitone, tone, semitone.
Yeah.
So in order to play a
this
scale
stuff
of G
makes
major,
a lot more sense if you understand the circle of
F
fifths.
sharp. And F sharp is what is known as the key signature
of
the scale of
okay,
G.
now we're going to talk about
In other words, you
circle
can't
of
play
fifths.
G major without an F sharp.
Yeah.
That is what key signatures are.
He's got his own WAP
to be able to
juice,
play
looks
that
like,
scale.
huh?
Take another one, for example.
All right.
Start on D. Whole step to F sharp, half step, whole step, Another whole step takes us to C sharp. So in order to play the scale of D major, we have to use an F sharp and a C sharp. So we have to use 2 sharps to play the scale of D major, and that means the key signature of D major, it's got 2 sharps in it, F sharp and C sharp.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
that's the way I think about scales. Key signatures.
so good.
It's
Now,
a
you've probably
really
heard
powerful
major
system.
and minor. What is all this major and minor stuff about? Well,
minor
they're
is so
just
much better than
different
major.
scales,
I'm just
and
going to
they're
be
just
honest.
different patterns of intervals. So we know that a major scale goes whole step, half step, whole step, half step, or tone, semitone, tone, semitone. A minor scale just has a different pattern of intervals, which gives it its characteristic feeling. So starting on A, let's go whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step. Then we're going to do whole step again, whole step, half step, whole step, and then a whole step.
That's a weird way to think for me.
That is the natural minor scale. Let's do it in UK English. Start on A.
Whole steps and half steps, tones and semitones.
Tone, semitone, tone. tone, semitone, tone, tone. And if you started playing that sequence, a pattern of intervals...
I'm thinking about I'm in the key of C.
Now, you may have noticed...
And I'm playing the notes in the key of C, but starting on
natural minor
A.
scale without using any black notes.
It's kind of like
So it has
more of a
this
modal
A minor
approach.
has the same key signature as C major. They're like sort of
see, here he goes.
non-identical twins, and they're known.
Wow.
So A minor is the relative minor of C major. They're sort of locked together because they share the same key signature and they sort of share the same scale.
And this is the secret to modes too, by the way, right?
So good.
Anything you play, like if you start on F in the key of C, that's Lydian. You start on G in the key of C, that's Mixolydian, Aeolian on A. Locrian, God forbid, if you start on B, and so on and so forth. That's really going to unlock the power of the fretboard for you.
Okay, so we've done major and minor
Right.
scales. And we've done all kinds of other stuff.
And what is that instrument in the left-hand corner? It may be a sitar of some kind or a Persian instrument. I don't know.
Key signatures. Let's just compare a major and a minor scale because I want to talk about intervals. Intervals are the distance between two notes on the keyboard. So from there to there is an interval, from there to there is an interval. So if we play C major scale, okay, if I then play C natural minor, going whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step.
Yeah.
You'll notice, first of all, just
are you still
concentrate on the
tracking?
first three notes.
Things are starting to get a
on
little
the
bit
major
confusing.
Scale, in the minor scale, it goes. So, what are we going to call the interval between that note and that note? That to that is called a major third, because if you go up the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 3 notes, you get to that note. If you go up the minor scale, you get to that note, and the distance between that note and that note is called a minor third. Okay.
Yeah.
So a major third is made up of.
It's the essence of tonality right here.
4 half steps. Look,
It's all about the thirds, man. Because, you know, if you think about it, if you're a guitar player and you're just playing power chords, those are totally ambiguous. They don't have thirds. So the thirds are really the most important notes.
And if you go to a minor third, it's 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3. Now, but when we get beyond the third, 4 and 5 are the same in both major and minor. And that's why those intervals, that's a fourth. It's called a perfect fourth because it's the same in both major and minor.
Perfect.
And that one is a perfect fifth because it's the same in major and minor. And then you get major and minor thirds and sixths and sevenths as well. So, but that
there's no such thing as a minor fifth or minor fourth.
That's a major third.
What are you, stupid?
This is important because the next thing we're talking about is chords. Chords are simply playing sort of more than one note at a time. An interval is normally 2 notes.
Chords, I'm just going to say right now, chords are my favorite thing about music, just period. Man, you can make someone feel pretty much anything you want with a good chord.
Normally 3 or more. So if we start...
Which, by the way, you should grab my chord Bible below. That way you can learn all the chords. Chords from cool composers like Stravinsky, Alexander Scriabin, Bach, and many more.
On the first note of the scale, the root, that's C. Now try this at home if you haven't done it already.
Okay, I'm going to try it.
Note of the scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so play one, skip one, play one, skip one, play one. And what you get is a 3-note chord called TRIAD.
This is why I would recommend playing piano for guitar players, or at least like have an understanding of piano, because it's visual. Like when you're playing a triad on the guitar, it's just you can't get the same sense of what's going on, and you're going backwards really towards, you know, the headstock. On piano, you're moving the other direction this way, and it's just laid out in a more visual manner.
And that triad is known as C major because it's the chord formed on C and it's a major chord because the distance between the root and the middle note is a major third.
See, it's all about that middle note.
Now, if we go up one note, what's the distance between that one and that? It's not a major third, it's a minor third. So that is D minor, okay?
The saddest of all keys.
C major, D minor. And if you look, okay, so we're going 1, 2,
Just
3,
feel the
4
sadness.
semitones or half steps up, and you get a major third. You build that into a chord and you get a major chord. Start on D, you only go up 1, 2, 3 semitones, so you get a minor third.
Never doing like the sequence of chords in a key.
So you get a minor chord. So the pattern in a major scale, you can form a triad on each degree of the scale.
And again, this is a lot easier to visualize on piano. When you play it on guitar, it's like, I don't know, it's just a lot harder to visualize, right? Especially when you get higher up on the neck and the diminished chord, you're like, what's going on there? The shapes are a lot easier on piano.
3, chord 4, chord 5. Okay.
Okay.
So that's how.
Got it.
Chord 1, chord 5, chord 6.
Oh, classic.
4. C major. That's G. That's a chord of G major. Then go up to A minor, which is chord 6, because it's the 6th note of the scale.
By the way, a good exercise you could do is voice leading. Does that make sense what I'm doing? I'm just choosing the closest voicings available here. C, G, A minor, F. And that's it's really like a great fretboard workout. Because on guitar, those things are a little bit harder to get a grasp on.
Because it's on the 4th note of the scale. There's a wonderful diagram which brings this all together. This may make your brain explode.
Do you know what's coming? I know what's coming.
Here is a fantastic
there
diagram.
It is.
Which
the circle of death.
You'll need to look at it for a bit because it takes a little while to get your head around. But look, right at the top there is C. Now,
C stands for.
Know, you can play a C major
I don't know if he knows or not.
Any black notes. There's no accidentals in it. There's no sharps or flats. If you go up to the 5th note of the scale,
that's a key we all like when we're first starting out. You don't have to deal with any sharps or flats.
Based on G, as we explained before, we have to use 1 sharp. If you go up to the 5th note of the scale of G, you end up on D. Now we play a major scale.
To every key's a 5th apart.
And C sharp. Every time you go up a 5th, you have to add a sharp to the key signature. And it's just down to that pattern of intervals we were talking about before. So every time
this is really the best way to think about keys, though. That circle right there, man.
So it starts on C.
You can memorize that.
Sharps, goes to G.
And all the sharps or flats within the keys.
Goes to A,
man, that's so much power right there.
Now, what about going down?
Analyze pretty much anything.
If we start on C and go to the left, anti-clockwise, we go down a 5th, we end up on
This is the
F.
part guitarists
now,
don't like, the flat side of the circle.
To make a scale of F, we go tone, tone, semitone.
Yeah, because we got flats.
And this time, we're going to call that B flat, not A sharp. So if you go to the left, you're going to the flat side, and every time you go one step to the left, you add a flat. So F major has 1 flat in it.
But
B flat.
I mean, F is actually a pretty good key because it's relative to the saddest of all keys, D minor, and that's pretty good for guitar.
Now, the closer two things are in the circle of fifths like this, the more closely they are related. You can add another.
Yeah. So that's another good thing to keep in mind. If you want to modulate, think about going to the next key either clockwise or counterclockwise. It's smoother if you do that.
Is inside, which is all the relative minors. So you can see how those relative minors.
Yeah. Relative minors on the inside
with the same key signature.
That's what I'm talking about.
Scale.
Those are the keys I use.
So C major has no sharps or flat. A
more evil.
G major has 1 sharp. E minor has 1 sharp. Okay. This probably
Every
is a bit
guitarist's
much to
favorite
take
key,
in all
E
in one go,
minor.
but do have a look at this, and you can download. There's a sort of a little crib sheet we've put together which will explain all this, everything I've said in here, so you can look at it on a piece of paper and go, "Oh, what did that nice guy say, and how does it work?" Okay, you can look at it. That's really rude. You don't sound like that, do you? No, of course you don't. I'm sorry, but it will allow you to work stuff out. And I hope you find that useful and interesting. It has been a pretty lightning tour of music theory. It hasn't even really taken 30 minutes, has it? But I hope for those of you who don't have any music theory at all, it just starts to give you some insight into the
there's that weird instrument in the background.
and the logic behind it, and how actually it's not rocket science.
Maybe next time
Just a
you should
matter of
teach
understanding
with,
how these things
that
go
weird
together.
instrument.
Suddenly,
How's everything
hopefully,
sound on that?
Everything will make a lot more sense to you. Jolly good. If you've enjoyed this, please remember
Jolly
to
good.
subscribe to this channel, because we do lots of
things this
cool
guy
and
says
wacky
are
stuff.
so
We write lots
weird.
of music, we review some gear, and we do sort of bits of music theory and things like this. And if you want the download, which is underneath this, so just click the button, give us your email address, and we'll send you a download link so that you can download our quick start guide to
Do
theory.
it.
Anyway, from me, Guy Michelmore, thank you very much indeed for your company. I look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Michelmore, is that
Cheerio.
what he said? What did you learn from this video? Did that help clear anything up? If you want to go deeper into the topic of music theory, because it's very hard to learn everything you need to know in 16 minutes, but I've got a full music theory course you can check out in the description below. It's going to go into more depth on the topics of things like key signatures, intervals, chords, scales. For me, music theory is just a tool that I use to get the sounds that I want. It's not a system of rules that tells me what I can and can't do. I'm not into that. It's more like a secret way to unleash your true creativity. Your evil creativity.